and welcome to Series 3, Episode 5 of In Suspense, a podcast and vodcast for fans and writers of crime fiction. I'm Leslie Cara, and my co-host is Lauren North.
Hello.
Now, last episode, we talked to best-selling author and accomplished website designer Charlotte Duckworth. And we had a fascinating discussion, and it's been really popular, lots of feedback on that. And I think it's just a popular topic, isn't it? Author websites and newsletters. Lots of you seem to be really interested in that. And I've got a feeling that Charlotte is going to be inundated with requests for website designing. And I think she might have prompted you to look at yours again, didn't she, Laurie? I
Yes.
think I saw a tweet somewhere from you about newsletters or
Well,
something.
yes, I did update my website, having not done it for about 3 years, and it didn't actually take as long as I thought. I do want to still ask Charlotte, but I thought as an interim, because I know she's really busy, I will update it. I've not done a newsletter, but I've done a mailing list. So you can sign up, and then I'm only going to email you when my books come out or when I've got offers on and things like that. So it's not so much, I don't have to put that pressure on myself to do one at a certain time if I've got nothing to say. So
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
idea.
we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. I've got a few people have signed up. Charlotte signed up. I think
Well, I'm going to sign up as well.
you should be one of the first to know anyway, Leslie. I wouldn't worry. How was your trip away last week?
Oh, I've had a lovely time. I went to Edinburgh for 6 nights and it was just what I needed, really. Recharged the old batteries. And yeah, we had a great time. Lots of walking, lots of swimming. I swam every day, which was lovely.
Nice.
And because we had to book the pool in advance because it was social distancing, they were only allowing 6 people in at a time. But actually, that worked really well because every time we went down, we had the pool to ourselves.
Oh, lovely.
And one time they let us have it for an hour because someone else had cancelled. So it was so nice to be swimming again.
Mm.
Although I need to find investigate swimming hats because it is a bit of a pain having to when now my hair's longer, having to wash it every day after swimming. So I'm sorry, I'm turning this into a hair care podcast now. If anyone has any advice about swimming and long hair
I'm
and
sure people will.
caps that keep your hair not completely dry, I guess that's not possible, but quite dry.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
can't help because I don't really like swimming. I swim like this. The water, I don't like my head to get wet.
I used to be exactly the same. I used to always swim like that with my sunglasses on the swimming pool. But now I do it properly and I put my head in and I wear proper swimming goggles and everything. Because I'm quite short sighted, I got prescriptions
Oh,
swimming goggles. They cost a fortune, but I'm really glad I got them because it means I can now see when I'm
see
in
the
the pool.
edge.
But yeah, it was great. I mean, the weather was obviously lovely when we went away. A little bit cooler in Edinburgh than it was down here, but still really nice, hot enough to sit and have a beer outside and watch the world go by. So
Oh,
it was really good. Yeah, really really enjoyed it.
oh.
And our hotel was just a few minutes away from John Lewis, so and Harvey Nicks. So I mean, I had to have a little bit of retail therapy as well. And
Oh, lovely, lovely.
why not? So yes, so oh, we've got something else really exciting planned for this week, haven't we? As
We
well.
have, haven't we? Exciting for us, but not for our listeners.
No, no, that's true. Hmm.
No, we're going for lunch, aren't we?
We are.
Tomorrow. This is obviously we're recording this on Monday, and we're going for lunch on Tuesday, aren't we? So we're seeing each other tomorrow. We're having a in suspense planning session on the train, and then we're having lunch with a few authors, which is going to be very exciting. So
It's going to be so lovely. And in fact, yes, as you say, by the time this goes out, we'll have done it.
we'll have done it. Yes, we'll see all the pictures of us smiling and being all smug because we're seeing each other. But something else exciting has happened this week, which is that your book title has come out, hasn't it? Would you want to talk a bit about that?
Yes, yes. Well, I posted it on Friday. That was the title reveal. The final cover's not ready yet. That will probably be sometime later in the year. But the title is This Girl, That Girl. Um,
I love it.
I love it as well. I mean, I didn't come up with the title, although I did come up with that phrase. That phrase appears in the book. This girl, that girl, there's always some girl. Is in the book, so that was my editor's suggestion. And as soon as she suggested it, I thought, yes, that's
Yeah, it's really catchy.
So yeah, that's been really exciting, and I'm just waiting now for my copy edits to come back. So they should be landing, well, anytime now. Really, they'll probably land tomorrow when I'm out enjoying myself.
You'll be away from your desk. There's
I'm
nothing.
I'm not going to look at my emails tomorrow just in case. But yeah,
Oh,
that's lovely. And also the paperbacks of the Dare have arrived as well, and I absolutely love them.
they're so
They're so
pretty.
lovely. I'm
I
really,
love the red on the cover.
yeah, it's really nice. And there's a lovely Q&A at the back as
Ooh,
well. So it's, yeah,
yeah,
I'm really, really pleased with that. I really am.
lovely.
Put it back there, bit of product placement.
Yes,
Available for
yes.
pre-order now. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. Yes. No, it'd be lovely to have lunch tomorrow, won't it? And it'd be a nice little pre-Harrogate lunch, won't it? Because I think
Well,
there's quite a few of us going to the Theakston Old Peculiar Crime Writing Festival, which is the 22nd to the 25th of July. And I phoned the box office about 5 minutes ago before we came on. It was like, I know you've got your weekend tickets available, but what about the site tickets? Because we're all waiting. And they said they are coming in the next couple of weeks, and to just keep an eye on your emails. If you're on the mailing list, you will see
right.
they're going to release the email, and then it's like go go go. So
I'm a bit worried about that because everyone's going to pounce on them, and if you don't get there in time, they're all going to go, aren't they?
yes, I think so, but I also think that there'll be so many of us, and there'll be so many things happening off site, that we'll all just arrange our own things as well a bit, I imagine. So
Yes.
a lot of getting on Twitter being like, who wants to do something, and
That's true.
things
I
like
mean,
that.
yeah, I've been sort of checking the website every morning. Well, not every morning, but
Good
whenever
idea.
I remember every morning. And yeah, there's been no change so far. But so in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yes, so we should hear, yes.
Because I was wondering whether the new, the delay to the COVID restrictions being relaxed would have an impact on it. But I think because it's 19th of July is meant to be
Yeah.
the date now, isn't it? And Theakston's is it the
Till
22nd?
after, yeah, just hopefully. Although, I mean, you just don't know, do you? It's going around the schools like wildfire at the moment. So we're supposed to be going to Centre Parks at the weekend, and there are just so many kids having to isolate when they sat next to someone who's got it, and it's just really
It's really
terrible.
difficult to know what to think, isn't it? Because obviously there are rising cases, but they don't seem to be rising deaths or
No, no, and the hospital,
hospitalisations.
yeah, admissions are staying low. So yeah, fingers crossed. I didn't mean to this become a pandemic.
Oh no, well, it's inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, it just goes in everything, isn't it? But yeah, so
I mean, it's so easy to forget about it as well because when we were in Edinburgh, although I must admit they were very strict there, I think much stricter than here. Certainly where I live at the moment, every single coffee bar or restaurant you went into, you had to, what do you call it, scan in, and
yeah,
you had to do that before they even let you in. But there were so many people there. It was a really lovely, because of the weather as well, lovely relaxed atmosphere, and it was just kind of back to normal, and it was
yeah.
wonderful. I didn't even worry about it at all, and yet every so often I thought, oh gosh, maybe I've been too relaxed.
It's really hard, isn't it, to get that balance? But yeah, we're fingers crossed for Harrogate anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
The end of July, isn't it?
Yes. So yeah. So it's been a good old week, and we've got our topic for today
Yeah,
is it's now. But it was quite tricky to say this.
you did very well
Tackling.
last week.
So today's topic is tackling contentious topics in
Woo!
fiction, and that I can tell you is as tricky to say as it is to do. And
Yeah,
yeah, so it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I think you've got to be quite brave to tackle certain topics in today's climate. Is certainly if you want to avoid a social media pylon,
mm,
which I think most of us probably do want to avoid that. I mean, I remember when the rumor came out. In America, particularly, there are just one or two tiny little references that my main character makes about Donald Trump. They're little sort of not very complimentary, I have to say, but obviously asides, thoughts that she has, just little asides. And I got some really nasty messages from some readers who were sort of incensed that I'd made a disparaging comment about the POTUS. And so, I mean, it didn't really bother me, to be honest. I wasn't the slightest bit worried, but it did make me think what it must be like if you are in receipt of loads and loads of horrible messages from people and from readers. That must be awful. So I think, a lot of writers, we tend to shy away from including difficult topics. I mean, some writers don't. Yeah, I think it depends how much you're motivated to write about certain topics. But I mean, crime fiction as a genre, I think it does lend itself well, doesn't it, to social commentary, because you've got, you're dealing with crimes and police and issues in families and issues in society, and like any fiction, it's a product of its time, isn't it? So I mean, I don't know what you think about.
Yeah, well, no, I completely agree. And I think one of the byproducts of the pandemic is, I think publishers are even more reluctant to take any risks. It feels like, just from talking to other authors and seeing what's being published. So I do think, yeah, it's hard as an author. There's two things, isn't there? One, you worry about the backlash, but two, you think, well, is a publisher going to be interested in this from the backlash they might get as well? So it's both things. But you are right in that I think there's definitely, say, more room in the crime genre than there is in perhaps a romance genre to sort of slide in those topics and sort of paint a picture of what is going on in society, which is particularly difficult with COVID, because so many of us are just ignoring it completely. I mean, I am, and I'm not writing about it, but there's so many contentious things that have come out about that with the vaccine and people's beliefs, and people are so strong-minded about it as well, so it can be difficult to get your point across, I think, in those topics.
Sometimes, writers court publicity by making controversial comments or including controversial topics in their fiction, and that does them quite well, because does them quite well, that's not very good English, but it because it generates a lot of discussion, a lot of people are interested, and it sort of is good publicity. They say even bad publicity is good publicity, don't they? So
yeah, I think if you do it right and you've done your research and you're doing it for the right reasons, which is to really raise awareness, and I just think it can be done really well. I think Louise Beach is one of my favorite authors, and she tackles many different topics and does it so beautifully. And the other author is, of course, Rachel Edwards,
yes,
who wrote Darling, her debut, which was called the first Brexit thriller, and her ability to paint a picture of society when we just come out and we just voted to come out. Well, some of us did, not all of us. There I am talking contentiously.
Yeah. I'm with you, though. I'm with you.
Yeah, when the country voted for Brexit, she painted such an amazing sort of picture of what society was like, but also it was a gobsmacking thriller, which was just done so brilliantly, and the two just ran alongside each other amazingly, and it's quite lucky that we've got Rachel on the show today to talk to us about contentious topics, isn't it?
It is, and I see what you did there. It is very lucky.
Oh yeah, lucky. I didn't even do that.
Very clever.
Which is her next novel, Lucky. Yeah, she's talking to us about Lucky. Yes. So yes, we'll be talking to Leslie. Talking to Leslie. And you, yeah. Talking to Rachel very soon.
Hello, Rachel, and welcome to the show. Welcome to In Suspense. We're delighted to have you on.
Hello, delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to start off by reading your bio. And so if I just start with that, Rachel Edwards was born and raised in the UK by her Jamaican mother and Nigerian father. She is delighted to have been born on 3 continents at once and identifies as many things: a Black British author, a Sunday Times columnist, a wife and stepmother, a London-loving resident of the Shires, a now wistful Europhile, and a die-hard Soul 2 Soul fan. Rachel read French with English at King's College London. After a graduate stint in publishing, her break into fiction came in her 20s when she was engaged to craft literary source for her first editor, Rowan Pelling, more of which later if we have time. She then won a National Fiction Award from the Arts Council, which comprised mentoring from the acclaimed novelist Catherine Johnson. She has since written for many national publications, freelancing for more than 10 years until 2016, when she chose to focus full-time on her fiction. Darling, the result, was her debut novel, and her second novel, Lucky, will be published on 24th of June 2021. And so, Rachel, do you want to start off by telling us a little about your new novel, Lucky?
Yes, I know. I'd love to. Well, first of all, I should say that I'm really excited stage because Lucky is out in, I think, 3 more days. So it feels like very close to publications. I actually have copies. My box full arrived, and I jumped up and down and scrolled around the kitchen. So here we are. Oh yes! Oh look at oh bless you, Hussey. Yay! So Lucky. So yeah, my second novel is about it's a story of a lady called Etta, who wants to marry her boyfriend Ola, who's a scientist. She's been with him for a while and she thinks it's time to get married. So she decides to help things along because Ola's a bit hung up on how much money they need to have in their bank account before they can actually get married. So she thinks, okay, we're not doing badly. Let me just speed things along by looking online for opportunities. And she stumbles into first of all, online bingo, which more broadly becomes online gambling. And the whole story kind of spirals from there, really. She gets drawn into that world pretty fast. And the book, whilst that's the main thrust of it, also looks at other risks and other gambles that people take. So it looks at the huge gambles it is, for example, for a family to take their entire family and put to get in a boat and try and cross from Syria to Europe, for example. So that kind of thing. They're big existential risks as well as actual gambling. So it looks at, twist of fate, chance, fortune, that kind of thing.
Fantastic. And it's a great novel. Really, really good.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And I loved it as well. I loved it just as much as Darling. And you do just have this way of capturing the moods of society, which I think is just so impressive how you do that. And it was horrifying to see how quickly things can spiral out of control with online gambling. And I imagine it's been a huge issue for so many people during the pandemic when they have been stuck at home and have been bored. And I wondered, what was your initial inspiration for Lucky, really? Was it the gambling, or was that just part of the other issues that you talked about?
Well, that's a really good question. So I thought about, what drew me to this particular story, because sometimes I think my books are quite a bit of a weird, mashup of ideas that hopefully work as a story. But I do think that I was really keen to write my online gambling book because I thought of this idea before Darling, actually, some years ago. And I was a freelance writer before I was published in fiction. So you spend a lot of time online and you browse and find ever interesting ways of procrastination, as I tend to do and still do. But I kind of saw that in a number of ads saying, oh, try this, try that, and try online bingo. Now, I've never been to a bingo hall, not really a bingo girl, but then I thought, okay, bit short cash, have a look, could be fun, some way to pass the time when writing articles. And because it's really not something that I would do, sometimes I'm tempted, I'm a bit of a moth to the flame type of person. I do think, oh, that's not me, so maybe I should try it. I mean, it's like any author, like that what if thing. What if I did that? What would happen? Press that button. So so I did go down this avenue a bit, and first of all, it was quite fun, but then I saw how quickly it could turn, and I wasn't lucky. I was lucky. I was in a position where I didn't need to make the rent, but I was very aware. We also have, and writers generally have analytical minds. I thought, well, what if I didn't have the basis of a questioning mind, and I just took this at face value, and soon you're pushed from bingo to slots and so on, and it's quite easy to get hooked into it, the secrecy, and it's really madly diverting. They make it good, So I thought, I've got to write about this because I heard stories. The more I looked into it, I heard about people who had spent their mortgage money on online gambling, and kids family food money on online gambling. I thought, wow, why isn't this being talked about? This was over 5 years ago when I wrote Darling. And now you see in the broadsheets and lots of the big TV stations stories of people who've lost millions collectively coming together trying to fight the online gambling industry. So I thought this is a story that needs to be told, and I've wanted to tell for some time. So that's inspiration, really.
That's so amazing. And you've just answered my next question as well, which is what research did you do for it? Did you actually go on any of the sites? But obviously it's a long time coming, this story. As you say, you've done some research and you've had to go as well.
Yeah, I mean, I could answer that further than that. I will be really honest, because I suspect, and I'm just at the beginning of the journey, I would be talking about this, and you're the first person I've spoken about this, so it's very exciting. I won't pretend to say I just stood back and did cool author research, which might be the more level-headed thing to say. But, I like to be honest about this thing. The point is, even with someone who's hopefully reasonably intelligent and educated and has advantages with support and not desperate, it is an addictive pastime. And it can be for lots of people. So I could pretend and say, I just sat back, cool research and took notes. No, I was getting quite drawn into this word myself at a personal level, whereby I was doing what I wanted to. It didn't spiral out of control in the way that it does in the book, thank goodness. I probably wouldn't be here talking to you now. But it was enough for me to know, someone who, has the kind of personality where I smoked for many years and I gave that up. I'm having all or nothing personality, so I had to really step away from it completely and will never touch any gambling again, because I could see myself getting drawn into it, to an alarming extent very fast. And it doesn't happen to everyone. Most people are more measured.
Yeah,
but it can do, and that's what I want to say. It can do, and the risk to reward ratio is such that it's not worth it, and it can devastate lots of people, and it has done.
Yeah, my sister's, one of my sister's friends actually lost, I think he lost about this was some while ago, lost about £80,000 on playing online poker.
Wow.
Unbelievable. But I mean, any kind of online, my husband, it's not a gambling thing. He does a language. He's teaching himself Spanish on Duolingo. And it's just the way they kind of, all the little, yay, you've done so well, and try this and the next level. And it's kind of, it's that whole online thing, isn't it? I can see how these things become incredibly addictive.
That's a really good point, because the online side of it, you used to get, old Joe used to go to his local bookies, and then someone behind the counter would know him and know his wife and know his kids and think, he spent a bit too much of the rent that week. Do you know what I mean? People keep denying it socially. Online is a secret, is a world unto itself. And that's what I wanted to get across, that actually we can get drawn into things, always unhealthy things, but there is that drip, feed, and in the way that social media makes us, want to have the likes hit, gambling world applies the same.
That's right. It absolutely does.
You get hooked in. So I really want to talk about that. So I don't think anyone who reads Lucky could really be left too much out that actually, she's obviously had a go and thought, oh my God, this is terrible. Get out of there quick and write a book.
Now, Rachel, your first novel, Darling, I know was a favourite with reading groups, wasn't it? A lot of book groups really enjoyed discussing that, and I'm pretty sure that Lucky will be exactly the same. And I know that publishers and some people in the industry actually categorise it as a genre, almost, reading group fiction. But I was wondering, what is it about your fiction, do you think, that is so appealing to reading groups? Why do book groups love it so much? No need for modesty.
Well, actually, no, this is not modesty. This is probably being hugely ineffective as an author in terms of research, because I hadn't realised really that I knew that some reading groups had read it, but I didn't really think it was a big reading group. But I'm delighted that it is. It's great, But I suppose with Darling, if I think about that, it has the issues, but I don't aim to write issues led fiction per se. But I do think that certainly with Darling and Lola, the two main characters in my debut, because they take a chapter each and they're at loggerheads. Push pull. People change side to side. Like readers told me they changed side to side and who they were with or against, even sometimes from chapter to chapter. And that raises emotion, that raises people thinking about it, and hopefully makes them change their minds on issues of, looking at family and race and all those issues that are there. So there were things to discuss, and then as it went on, there were things on Earth that become, looking at mental health and looking at all kinds of sides of aspects that affect life in quite an intense way. That makes it, I think people want to discuss that stuff. So that's probably what appealed to reading groups. I'm delighted, because I came to writing through the ultimate reading group, which is being doing a literary degree in French with English and just chatting about books. So chatting about books is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Very true. And that leads us really nicely with what you were talking about there onto our topic for the day, which is tackling contentious topics. Yeah. Now, there obviously are some important and uncomfortable issues raised in both Darling, but also in Lucky, which we've been talking about. So it addresses themes of race, immigration, money, power, and privilege, and also includes a storyline relating to the Windrush scandal, which I personally found that really drew me in, that particular storyline. And it's a heartbreaking issue. Now, on top of all the research you must have had to have done for all these issues, I guess it's a case of, when you set out to write Lucky, did you think these are the things I want to include? I want to include these topics. I want to raise awareness and I want to have a dialogue about them in your books. Or did it come a bit more organically than that as you were writing?
Well, for me, I know everyone approaches things differently, but for me, it really has to be about hits the heart and then the head. So I say that, but actually, I write rather than issues-led books. I think I write ideas-driven books. But what happens to me is I have to get worked up. I think I do my best writing if I've got something to say rather than just something to tell or even show. I want to have to say something, and I have to get fired up enough to, what it's like to write for at least a year, maybe 2-3 years. So I need to be fired up. I need to be driven. And I think, well, I don't want to shy away from the issues that matter to me. So if it matters, that's enough to sustain me through fiction. But then what happens is I want to think about characters, and I'm at the stage of, getting to know characters for my next book, maybe. And at that point, the characters will dictate plot to me. It's not secondary, but as we know, characters' destiny. So they'll kind of tell you what needs to happen to them as you go along, if it's working. So it is ideas led, but what I do not do, and I don't disapprove of it, but it's not me, is I don't sit with a checklist and think I want to have that, I have that now, I want to have that. Because that to me is quite a cynical way to approach writing a book, and it has to be something I feel passionate about. And Windrush, my mum's of the Windrush generation, so while it is highly topical, that's my mum, that's my mum, that's my uncle. She came to from Jamaica in the 60s, so it's deeply personal, and they say that political is personal and vice versa. So that is true, that touches my life. So it's that's a drive as much as anything.
I think that really came across in the book, Rachel. How personal it was as an issue. I think you really drew upon that really well.
Yeah, it really did, and that's a great answer, really good answer. We were talking earlier about how crime fiction as a genre is ideal really for social commentary. It sort of lends itself well to that, doesn't it? Because of the topics covered, and crimes and families and what's going on in society. But we were also saying how some authors might shy away from including contentious topics in their fiction for fear of like a social media backlash or for fear of negative comments. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Rachel?
Yes, the social media backlash. I mean, we see this often, don't we? I mean, any of us who, people not just in the public eye, but you see people getting absolutely piled up on Twitter or whatever. I think that from my point of view, I write ideas-driven books. So that to me, that's more important actually than, if it's a thriller, yes, then the body in the room, it's about what drives me, what's the ideas behind it, and what's the character, as I said. Then I also think that I'm writing not just an author or a female author, but as a Black British author, and there's a certain time in our social history that it's actually voices are coming to the fore that haven't necessarily had the chance to speak out. So I feel like I've been lucky enough to be given a platform, not in any grandiose way, but it'd be remiss of me not to maybe mention the things that I think are important to others like me and to hopefully the wider society. So I do feel that, not responsibility, I think it's a privilege really. So I don't shy away from it. And also, there's something about just being a bit older. I'd be far too scared in my 20s to, risk the wrath of Twitter if they'd had it then. I feel like, I'm in my 40s, I've raised kids, raised teenagers, so I'm not scared of it that much anymore, having done that. And I think, well, I'm going to say what I want to say. And I don't think Twitter or other online, other social media necessarily the best place for really nuanced discussion. I mean, you put something out there that's slightly contentious and people will pile on it. Sometimes, not always, but it can happen a lot. And I think there are other forums having discussion that might be more constructive.
But these are important issues that you raise, and they should be raised. And so I think it's important to get that out there, really. And it's not exactly publish and be damned, but get conversations going.
Absolutely.
And as you say, you're confident enough now to be able to deal with that. And if there's a backlash, so what? Then people are talking, and the important thing is that people are debating these issues, isn't it?
That's right. And I just think backlash, well, some people, I think it's quite hard you get to a certain point, and it's not just about race or gender or anything like that, but I think you get to a certain point in your life where every one of us will experience, people not liking you for something. And actually, if you really believe in what you're saying and what you're putting out there, then you're prepared to take it. There are still rooms in, not, they're lovely around here, my new neighbours in Somerset, but still a place I can go, and as a black woman, and think there might be those in there who might want to make you feel a bit uncomfortable or not belonging. Not always, not often, but it happens. And I've grown up with that. So it gives you a certain amount of, hopefully, if you're lucky and have support, a bit of bravery to think, well, you know what's the worst you can do? I'm going to put it out there and say what I want to say.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's my go now, isn't it? Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm so interested. So I was wondering how you work with your agent and your editor when you're thinking about these like contentious topics, and you're thinking about your books and what you're going to write. Do you talk to them and have planning meetings where you sort of bounce ideas around and talk about the topics, or do you just sort of write the book and say, here it is? How do you work with them on these sort of things?
So I don't have any meetings about any of the topics of my book, really. I think that it works really well for me, and I have a wonderful relationship of trust with both my agent and editor that's worked so well so far that so Joanna Swainson, my agent, will read it once I've got to the stage where I think it's ready to be read, and it might be a well worked first draft. But then if I think I wrote something and it was rose an issue and is off key, she would definitely tell me. But I just like to go away and write. I kind of work so I don't want to not write by committee, but I just want to, if the issue is important, then the chance are it's going to be central to that book and not something that's kind of stapled onto the side of a story. It's an integral part of it, and that's probably why I've written the book. So Joanna really gets that, and the same with my editor. I think she's got a real instinct for what would work. And I think if I didn't approach it the right way, or I wrote something really out there that she didn't agree with, she'd certainly tell me. But we are pretty aligned on that. So I tend to just go away and write what I want to write, and then put it out there, and then edit, and so on, and then have the input at that stage. But certainly on the issues front, no one's ever said to me, "Oh, you can't say that." "Oh, I'm not sure about that," or even said, "Okay, you haven't included that." I think that's down to me. I think that's my jobs and joys as a writer and an author, is to be able to put in what I want to put into it, and then see how that works. You know,
it comes as a product of the story and the character, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the story, I think, I'm sure there's some fantastic plotters out there. I was saying, you read these books, think, wow, that's amazing, there's such complexity of the plot, and I'm probably the least organised into ways that happens. But it has to evolve for me, because you don't know your characters, and you don't know what message sounds. Again, it sounds a bit worthy. It's not so much that, but the ideas that are driving you and the fuel in the book. If you don't know that and your characters, then how can you know what the plot will be? So that's how it works for me. And I don't know that's the kind of right way to do it, but that's what I've done so far, and I don't know how to change it.
Now, you also write regularly, don't you, for national newspapers? I don't know how you're still doing that, aren't you? And we're always interested in how writers balance their time if they've got other jobs. And so we were wondering, how do you sort of balance your fiction with your freelance newspaper work? How do you sort of do certain jobs on certain days, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was writing, so I wrote the lead con for the Sunday Times magazine last summer, as you'd be aware, and that kind of came out of the blue, and that was wonderful, a great opportunity, but it's quite intense because it's a quick turnaround. But at the time, I think I'd almost finished, or I was mid final edits for Lucky. That was a bit of a juggle, but it's great to do. I mean, usually at the moment, I'm just kind of looking forward to Lucky coming out, and I haven't got to balance a day too much. And actually, before that, the most relevant thing is that I was a freelance writer for for over 12 years before writing Darling. So I'm used to a deadline, and I quite relish a deadline. I like to know that something's going to be in by a certain time. So I don't really have a structure though. I know, again, I could approach writing in a much more structured way, but I just feel, having done school runs and this and that, and I absolutely loved it, but having to structure my day, I don't have to do that anymore. I mean, you're lucky I'm dressed, frankly, because I should be in my dressing gown wafting around in my peignoir. We might have come dine with me, but sorry.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no structure now. I don't really do that anymore. I kind of like the old-fashioned of writing when you're inspired. It's a luxury that I can't have rarely been able to afford. But at the moment, I don't have other calls of my time that much, apart from having just moved house. So I'm thinking, well, if I have my notebook to hand, I always have. This is my current notebook for book 3, and if I want to write something down, I'll write it. And so I know it's doesn't always work like that, but for me, I'd rather write when I feel like writing, just for now, and then I'll get really, when I dive into book 3 fully, then I'm gone for quite a while.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
Talking of book 3, are you allowed to give us any hints, or is it too soon to talk about?
Well, I haven't formed much yet, but I am starting to get to know my characters a little bit, and they're we're kind of circling each other a bit and just having a think about each other. So weirdly, I thought about this book that would involve a character who lived near on the Somerset Levels, and this was well over a year ago, and I didn't know what book 3 would be, but it involved the fact of flooding and so on. I want to look at a global perspective of what's happening in the environment, because that's obviously something that interests most of us these days, if we have any sense. And so Somerset Levels took a place in my imagination. And then, sure enough, a few months ago, 5 or 6 months ago, we moved to, the Somerset Levels are over there. So I had been in Oxfordshire. So I feel quite, my writing room now looks on the Somerset Levels. So that's a big part of it. But that's also informed this character, who I might change her name, so I don't want to say it just yet.
You're right.
At the moment she's Sarah, she could be something else. But I'm just trying to get to know characters. So I'm very, very early days. I am taking a little bit of a conscious break, because I want to be fully charged up and ready to go with the next book. And you know what it's like. You kind of, once you're in there, you're really in there. And I do take a deep dive. I'm quite obsessive. So yeah.
Oh, it's nice to meet another writer who likes to take a break, because often writers, they finish one and then they start the next one straight away. And I always need a little breathing space and a dreaming space, which is really important, I think.
I like, absolutely. It's time to stop and stare. And I just think with Darling, I was almost ready to, I was so fired up. By the time I got to that, I was really wired. It's like the final few days, it's like buzzing, my final debut, and it's kind of an intense, slightly bonkers book anyway. And I thought, okay, I'm going to dive straight. I'm going to go straight. I want to write another book straight away, but then I just kind of thought, I'll just have to sit down first. And I think I went to bed for about 48 hours. Actually, maybe I should stop. Maybe it won't be as best if I go straight to the next one. So yeah, I took a bit of a break, and so this time I've built in the break rather than just crashing.
Very wise, especially with your publication week as well, because that just sucks the day away, doesn't it? And there's so much to do with the publication week. So
well, I'm hoping so. I mean, I've got good planned with my publishers, and I don't know what's going to happen, because this is the first. We're not quite locked down, are we? We're kind of in between.
It's a strange time still, isn't it?
In strange times, as you say. So I don't quite know what's going to happen. I would have ordered maybe having a big party of some sort, but I will find ways to party. Somewhere the line. I like doing that.
And we do like to ask our guests what they are reading at the moment and what they can recommend. What are you reading at the moment? You got anything good on the go?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be sent this one. So this is so sometimes I like to break up reading, there's some fantastic novels out there, but then when you're having a break, sometimes I like to mix it up a bit and read some non-fiction. And my publisher, Fourth Estate, also publishes a lot of really good non-fiction. And they sent me, you see this one, this is My Broken Language.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've come across it.
I think I've seen that out there,
But it's, about language and identity and coming from a mixed background. And so that's really interesting. So I've literally just started dipping into that. I want to break from thinking about stories and plotting in that way and to see what people's experience are. And I almost might have something interesting. really excited about that. Oh, no, it looks so exciting. I can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you.
No, I wanted to, I love the premise of that. So, yeah, of which I'll say more at some point.
Thank you.
And then, yes, obviously, I do need to read Lucky again because I don't know if you get this, but I haven't forgotten it. But now I kind of think, oh, I meant to refresh my memory. I dream, but I imagine that I've forgotten it. Yeah, I used to get that all the time with Dali. I was like, oh, someone can ask about it. I've forgotten it, and it doesn't. But just in case, I might give it a quick read.
Yeah. What about you, Leslie? What are you reading?
Well, I've just been sent a proof, All for You by Louise Jensen, which sounds really good.
I like her a lot.
Yeah, everyone in this family has something to hide. Mother, wife falling to pieces, father, husband in too deep, son, brother can never tell the truth. But what are they trying to protect and at what cost? So that looks fun. And non-fiction. I'm just reading this again. I've had this for a while. The Art of War for Writers by James Scott Bell. It's one of those books you can just dip into, and it's got fiction writing strategies, tactics and exercises. I find that when I'm about to start thinking about a new novel, I read a lot of how-to books and structure books and just to sort of get my mind thinking about plot and stuff like that again. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. What about you, Laurie? What are you up to?
So I've just started and I'm desperately trying to find some more time now to read Not a Happy Family.
Fantastic.
Did you read it? Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah, so I've started, I'm really enjoying it. And then I was sent by my publisher this week, Wahala by Nikki May, and it's supposed to be sort of Sex in the City meets My Sister's Serial Killer. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one as well. And then I've also been sent The Good Neighbours by Nina Allen to read as well, which looks very good. So a bit slightly different, I think. So yeah, I've got a few good books on the go as well.
Fantastic. Now, Rachel, we come to what we call our light-hearted. I mean, the whole podcast is light-hearted, really, but this is a little bit more light-hearted. And we, because Etta in Lucky is addicted to, or becomes addicted to, online gambling, we were wondering whether there was anything that you were or have been secretly addicted to. Something, obviously, that you're willing to share with us.
Not that secretly. I'm not that good at being secretly addicted to it. Well, I was a smoker for many years, which surprised me, kind of snuck up on me, and then 15 years later, I was smoking, and so kick that. Then again, all or nothing. Never touch. I can't dabble, so I don't do that anymore, and haven't done it for over 10 years, which is probably best. I got a wheeze a bit. What else? I don't know. I mean, I enjoy plenty of red wine, but I don't think I'm quite addicted yet.
Just as well.
Good go. Yeah, quite addicted to my husband when he's being particularly nice. He's lovely. What else? Addicted?
That's nice.
Yeah, I am. He's
Aww. I think that's more than enough addiction.
That's so sorry, but he's really nice. No, apart from that, as I say, just well. Actually, this is the proper author's answer, the grown-up answer. When I'm writing my books, I'm addicted to that, obviously. Addicted to prose.
But yeah, it goes without saying.
Yeah, you know exactly what I mean, right? Because you're addicted. That's part of the reason we do it, writing. And I think that's when I was writing Lucky, I thought I was writing about addiction and getting quite addicted to writing about it. It was a bit of a weird, a bit messer, but yeah, it's fine.
No, that's as it should be. Addicted to writing, definitely.
Yeah, quite right.
What about you?
I'm sticking to it.
Oh yeah. What about you, Laurie? I think I know what you might be about to say.
Well, I put it on the notes, didn't I?
Well, no, but not that one, because I think you've got another one to mention. Well, you mentioned the one you were going to mention. But
I suppose I've got two actually.
Okay.
Now you mentioned it. So I'm addicted to Twixes.
That's the one I was going to say.
So I have 1 or 2 Twixes a day. Gone for 1.5 today. It's been very, very dedicated. Yeah, I'm crazy. With coffee, they're my thing.
Oh, Twixer coffee, nice. Yeah,
and a big cup of cappuccino, not just like any old coffee.
Yeah.
But I'm also slightly addicted to the Teddy grabber machines that you get at like the arcades. They're like 20p, and like I've never in my life, I've never won anything on them ever. But I just want to one day win. Like my daughter now grabs me and pulls me away.
But there's a reason you haven't won anything, Laurie. It's because they're designed so that you don't win.
What about you, Leslie?
Well, I used to smoke, but I don't anymore. I haven't smoked for a long while. I do have quite an addictive personality, so I do have to be quite careful. But I am addicted to sort of carbohydrates, really. Snacks, crisps, anything salty like pretzels or hula hoops. Or I did have a major hula hoop addiction, but I'm weaning myself off hula hoops now, and I've kind of migrated onto M&S crackers now with the little cheesy bits on them. But yeah,
Oh,
anything
nice.
anything sort of carbohydratey or salty, I'm afraid. So that's not very healthy, but probably better than hard drugs and alcohol. So
Yeah.
I used to be quite addicted to, those toffee fay things they took away. Remember those little toffee things?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know why. It's something I found so moreish, and I just had to buy the box one, then I just haven't
Oh
touched
well, I
it.
love toffees. The round toffees in the
The
Quality
toffee
Street
fay, the
thing.
toffee fay branded little toffee thing, weird. But yeah, strange. I go for strange things like that. Like at the moment, Tang Fastics. I know I'm really massively.
Oh yes,
Oh
yeah. The
yeah.
I'm quite
Haribo
addicted to those at
sweets.
the moment. I could eat quite a few, especially the cherry ones. So yeah, I change it up every now and again.
Yes. Right, well, we're on to our quick fire round now. So I'm going to fire questions at you, and you just have to answer the first thing that comes to your head. All right? Okay, so are you ebook or paperback?
Paperback,
Tea or coffee?
coffee.
Sweet or savory?
Oh, stress. I just, sweet, if I can.
Sweet today.
Yeah.
Do you write at your desk or on a sofa?
On a sofa quite a lot, actually. Even though I have a writing room, I do tend to kind of wander around the house. Yeah.
Are you beach holiday or city breaker?
I love to, I've lived in the city, been holidays, beach. Yeah, Jamaica,
Wine or cocktails?
wine.
Cat or dog?
I was a cat person. My husband made me a dog person. I love cats, but I'm all about the dogs these days. Really.
Word or scrivener?
Word. I've never tried Scrivener.
Oh,
I probably should.
um,
Yeah, it never tells me, but I think, what if I can't write on it?
dinner for two or noisy night out?
So what was the first one?
Dinner for two or a noisy night out?
Well, this is so hard. I'm really not going to be in binary because I love both. My entire life has been comprised of both. So noisy night out. Yeah, I was my 20s, noisy night out. My 30s, both. 40s, night for two. Is that all right?
Very good.
Yeah.
Well done. Very well
Okay.
done.
Stressful.
It's not meant to be stressful, but I know what you mean. You feel put on the spot.
I love it, really.
Now then, before we come to the close, I mentioned in your bio there was something about craft literary source, which was where you started off, and I wondered if you might like to explain to our readers, our listeners, and our watchers what that actually means, because it's quite interesting.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I put it on. I think it's on my website. I think I do mention it because it's actually a strange little start to my writing career that not everyone knows about. So when I was first published in my 20s, is in short stories. But they weren't any short stories because at the time, really short stories hadn't taken on or hadn't had the renaissance that they have in recent years. So you could only really get published in maybe a mainstream women's magazine, which wasn't the kind of thing I wanted to write. If you wanted to write a more literary sort of short story, the best place is a new journal that came out called The Erotic Review, and the editor was ooh la la, and the editor was Rowan Pelling, who's lovely, and she's my first editor. So I basically sent off wanting to write short stories. I just wanted to see my work in print and thinking actually it's quite fun, tongue in cheek, not a bit saucy. I've sent off a short story to her, and first of all, it's this very overblown kind of mock Victorian kind of get up that I'd written, and it's a bit over the top. And she very kindly, rather than tell me to never darken her door again, said, well, okay, you've got something, but you maybe just tone it down, just write something a bit more contemporary, a bit more you. So I thought, oh, okay, she's listening to me. I have her attention. So I wrote another short story, and that got published. And I ended up writing for them for a couple of years, and it was the best fun. I mean, actually, I don't know. I hope my mother's not watching this. Might be my fault. I still haven't told her. That's how she should do. I'll get terribly told off. Apart from that, it really was great fun and tongue-in-cheek and nicely done. It had a bit of humour, and it also, she, Rowan's got high standards, so she maybe write properly rather than write something a bit more mainstream in a mundane way. I was trying to write well, but about something that's slightly saucy, so I enjoyed it.
Oh, that does sound fun. Oh, I've always fancied writing a bit of erotic fiction. I won't write it under Leslie Cara, though. I don't know. I'll have to find another name. No, I'm not sure I'll have time for that, but it does sound fun. Oh, it's been an absolute delight having you on, Rachel. We've really, really enjoyed speaking to you.
Oh, I loved it. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
And we wish you every success with Lucky, because it's an absolutely fabulous novel. And by the time this goes live, it will be your publication day. So happy publication day.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book on so many levels. So do grab it, a copy while you can. And good luck for Thursday. And you have lots of success with Lucky. Now, on our next show, we are going to be speaking to the phenomenal Jo Spain and talking about her next book, The Perfect Lie. And our topic is going to be creating killer hooks. So I am really looking forward to picking her brains on her hook creation, because she is a very talented writer, and she writes for TV as well. So that's going to be really interesting to talk to her about. Which just leaves us with the final task of saying thank you for watching In Suspense.
I did it too.
Oh no, I think Laurie froze on my screen.
Oh, I think I froze.
Do you know, Rachel, I don't know if you've ever watched this, but we never managed to synchronise that.
We did last time.
But the last time we did it, last episode, we actually synchronised, but I think that must have been a one-off.
It was one-off. I'm sure I froze then as well. Oh well, never mind.
Never mind. Oh, thank you so much, Rachel.
It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful. I don't want to go. I'm like, this is so much.
Oh, well, I hope we can meet in person soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope so. Well, we must do that, and I really love it. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Lovely. Thanks a lot.
Good luck.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.